Admiral Park Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the old cruiser Baekdu and watched the enemy ships surround Earth. There were 300 of them, large and powerful, their hulls shining with the blue light of advanced engines. They belonged to the Galactic Council, the rulers of the Milky Way galaxy for 40,000 years, and they had come to destroy humanity. The admiral was 60 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the human fleet for 35 years, and he had never felt so helpless. The Baekdu was one of 40 ships that made up humanity's entire registered navy. They were old, slow, and weak compared to Council vessels. If the battle started now, it would end in minutes. A communication signal appeared on the main screen. The face of Ambassador Thelvan filled the display. He was Valthari, one of the most powerful species in the Council. His skin was pale gray, his eyes were large and black, and he looked at humans the way a person might look at insects. "Admiral Park," Thelvan said, his voice cold. "The Council has made its decision. Your species violated the expansion treaties when your colonists settled on Moon Vega 7. That moon belongs to the Valthari Empire. That moon was listed as unclaimed in every galactic database," Admiral Park replied calmly. "The databases were wrong. Your colonists must leave. All human colonies outside your home system must be abandoned. Your population will be monitored. Your technology will be restricted. These are the terms." Admiral Park felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face still. "And if we refuse?" Thelvan smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Then the Council will remove humanity from the galaxy, permanently. You have 12 hours to accept." The screen went dark. Admiral Park turned to his crew. They were young, most of them, with fear in their eyes. He could not blame them. 80 years ago, humanity had discovered they were not alone in the universe. They had been excited, hopeful. They thought joining the galactic community would bring knowledge and friendship. Instead, they found only contempt. The Council saw humans as children, dangerous children who grew too fast and asked too many questions. They had been given observer status, which meant they could watch but never vote, listen but never speak. Every request for equal treatment was denied. Every attempt to expand beyond Sol was blocked. And now, because some families wanted a better life on a distant moon, the Council had decided humanity must be punished. Admiral Park pressed a button on his console. "Get me Minister Yoon Hana, secure channel." 10 minutes later, he was looking at the face of Earth's defense minister. Yoon Hana was 52 years old, a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for never showing fear. She had been expecting this call. "I saw the transmission," she said. "The Council has given us their terms." "Terms of surrender," Admiral Park said bitterly. "They want us to become prisoners in our own system." "Yes, that is exactly what they want." Minister Yoon paused. "Admiral, do you remember Project Amhek?" Park frowned. He had heard whispers about the project over the years, rumors of secret research happening somewhere far from Earth. But he had never been told the details. "I know the name, nothing more. It is time you knew everything." Minister Yoon leaned forward. 50 years ago, a young scientist named Baek Sun-ho made a discovery that changed everything. He found a way to manipulate dark matter. Admiral Park felt his breath stop. Dark matter was the invisible substance that made up most of the universe. Every species in the galaxy had tried to understand it, to use it. All of them had failed. The Council's greatest scientists had declared it impossible. "We kept it secret," Minister Yoon continued. "We knew that if the Council learned what we had done, they would destroy us immediately. So we hid. We built shipyards in the Kuiper Belt, far from any sensors. We trained crews in absolute secrecy, and we waited." "How many ships?" Admiral Park asked, his voice barely a whisper. 72. Dark matter engines, dark matter weapons, dark matter shields. They can fold space to travel instantly across any distance. They can remove matter from existence with a single shot. They can become invisible to every known sensor. Admiral Park closed his eyes. For the first time in hours, he felt something other than despair. He felt hope. "The Council thinks we are helpless," Minister Yoon said. "They think 40 old cruisers are all we have. They are wrong." On the frozen edge of the solar system, past Neptune, past the dwarf planets, there was only darkness. The Kuiper Belt was a region of ice and rock, too far from the sun for warmth, too empty for anyone to care about. It was the perfect hiding place. Captain Kang Ji-woo stood on the bridge of the Grim Dawn and listened to the orders coming through her secure channel. She was 34 years old, tall and lean, with black hair cut short for practical reasons. She had trained for this moment for 8 years, and part of her had believed it would never come. Around her, the crew moved with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Cha Yuna checked the weapon systems, her face hard and focused. She had lost her parents in a council peacekeeping action 10 years ago. She had been waiting for this day. Sergeant Oh Tae-wan stood near the door, his arms crossed, his expression calm. He was 40 years old and had seen more combat than anyone else on the ship. He did not speak much, but when he did, people listened. "All ships report ready," the communications officer announced. Captain Kang looked out the main viewport. She could see them now, the other dark matter vessels, their hulls black as empty space, their engines beginning to glow with strange violet light. 72 ships. Humanity's secret fist. She opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Captain Kang Ji-woo of the Grim Dawn. For 50 years we have hidden. For 50 years we have waited. Today, the waiting ends. Today we show the Council what humanity can do." She took a deep breath. All ships, engage dark matter drives, were going to Seoul. Space itself seemed to bend around the fleet, and then, in a flash of violet light, they were gone. Commander Velkath stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion and watched the blue planet below. Earth, home to 8 billion humans. Soon, it would be home to none. He was Velthari, like Ambassador Thelvan, but he was a soldier, not a diplomat. He had commanded fleets for over 100 years, and he had never lost a battle. Today would be no different. The humans had refused the Council's terms, as expected. Now they would pay the price. "Commander," his sensor officer called out. "The human fleet is holding position near their moon. 40 vessels, all light cruisers." Velkath laughed. 40 ships against 300. They are brave, I will admit. Foolish, but brave. He raised his hand to give the order to attack. Then the alarms started screaming. "Commander, unknown contacts appearing throughout the formation." Velkath spun toward the main display. His blood went cold. Space was tearing open. There was no other way to describe it. Holes appeared in the fabric of reality, glowing with deep violet light, and from those holes came ships. Ships that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Ships that should not exist. "What is this?" Velkath demanded. "What are those things?" "Scanning now," the sensor officer said, his voice shaking. They are not appearing on our sensors. We can see them with our eyes, but our instruments say nothing is there." 72 ships now surrounded the Council fleet. They had appeared from nowhere, positioned perfectly to catch the Velthari vessels in a crossfire. Their designs were angular, alien, wrong in a way that made Velkath's stomach turn. A communication signal cut through the chaos. "This is Captain Kang Ji-woo of the UENS Grim Dawn." The voice was calm, almost pleasant. "You have entered human space with hostile intent. You have 12 minutes to withdraw. There will be no second warning." A human woman looked back at him, young and confident, with eyes that showed no fear. "You dare threaten the Council," Velkath snarled. "You have 70 ships. We have 300. You cannot win this fight." Captain Kang smiled. Would you like to test that theory? Velkath cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. All ships, open fire. Destroy these black vessels. 300 Council warships fired at once. Plasma beams, particle cannons, missile swarms. The combined firepower could have cracked a moon in half. It should have turned the human fleet to dust. The black ships flickered. The weapons passed through them as if they were not there. What? Velkath whispered. That is impossible. On the grim dawn, Lieutenant Cha Yuna watched her console with cold satisfaction. Phase shields holding perfectly. Their weapons cannot touch us. Captain Kang nodded. All ships, prepare to fire. The dark matter cannons activated. They did not fire beams or projectiles. They fired nothing that any sensor could detect. But where they aimed, matter simply stopped existing. Perfect circular holes appeared in Council warships, cutting through armor, engines, and crew with equal ease. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as a dark matter shot removed a quarter of its engine section. Velkath was thrown to the floor. When he stood, half his bridge crew was dead, and his ship was spinning out of control. All ships retreat, he screamed into his communicator. Retreat now. But retreat was not easy. The human vessels moved impossibly fast, appearing and disappearing at will, striking from angles that should not exist. Every time a Council ship tried to escape, a black vessel was there to block its path. Admiral Park Do-hyun watched from the Baekdu, tears in his eyes. His old cruisers had not fired a single shot. They did not need to. The dark matter fleet was doing everything. In 47 minutes, 187 Council warships were destroyed. The survivors, just over 100 vessels, fled toward open space at maximum speed. Many of them were damaged, trailing debris and emergency signals. Captain Kang ordered her ships to let them go. They had made their point. Velkath was captured alive. His ship was disabled but intact, and Sergeant Oh Tae-won led a boarding team to secure him. The Velthari commander was brought to the grim dawn in restraints, his pride shattered. How? He asked Captain Kang when he stood before her. How did you do this? This technology does not exist. It cannot exist. And yet, here we are, Captain Kang replied. Far away, on the Council capital world of Nexus Prime, High Arbiter Malshan received the fragmented distress calls from the fleeing ships. He was old, even by Council standards, and he had seen many things in his long life. But he had never seen anything like this. Dark matter manipulation, he said quietly, reading the reports. The humans have achieved dark matter manipulation. The other Council members stared at him in silence. The eldest, ancient beings of pure energy, flickered with something that might have been fear. The Velthari representatives demanded immediate revenge. The Shanri Collective, a hive mind of insectoid creatures, suggested caution. We must destroy them, the Velthari Emperor declared. We must send every ship we have and burn their world to ash. And if their technology can defeat any fleet we send? Malshan asked. No one had an answer. On Earth, Dr. Baek Sunho sat alone in his laboratory and watched the battle recordings. He was 61 years old, thin and tired, with a look of a man who had not slept properly in years. He had created the dark matter technology. He had made humanity's survival possible. And now he watched ships disappear from existence, watched thousands die in moments, and he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. I never wanted this, he whispered to the empty room. I only wanted us to be safe. But safety and peace were not the same thing. He understood that now. The war had just begun. The Council chamber on Nexus Prime was the largest room in the galaxy. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds formed near the top. Its walls were covered with the flags of 12 species, 12 civilizations that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Today, those flags seemed smaller somehow. High Arbiter Malshan sat at the center of the great table, listening to the arguments rage around him. The Velthari Emperor, a massive figure in golden armor, slammed his fist against the table, hard enough to crack its surface. "We cannot allow this insult to stand," the Emperor roared. "The humans killed thousands of our warriors. They captured Commander Velkath. They made fools of us." "They defended themselves," said the representative of the Shanri collective. The Shanri were insectoid beings who shared a single mind across billions of bodies. Their voice was calm, reasonable. "We attacked their homeworld. This is logical." "Logical?" The Emperor's face twisted with rage. "They are primitives. They discovered fire while we were building empires. They have no right to possess such weapons." "And yet they do possess them," said one of the eldest. The Cathar were beings of pure energy, older than any other species in the council. They rarely spoke, but when they did, everyone listened. "The question is not about rights. The question is about reality. The humans have achieved what we could not. This disturbs us greatly." Malshan raised his hand for silence. "What are our options?" "War," the Velthari Emperor said immediately. "Total war. We gather every ship from every member species. 50,000 vessels, maybe more. We overwhelm them with numbers." "Their technology," the Shanri began. "Their technology has limits," the Emperor interrupted. "They have only 70 ships. We have thousands for every one of theirs. No defense can hold against such numbers." The Merwin representative, a tall amphibian being with blue-green skin, spoke quietly. "Perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have shown they can defend themselves. Why not accept them as equals and avoid more bloodshed?" The Velthari Emperor turned on the Merwin with fury in his eyes. "You would have us bow to these creatures? You would have us admit that we were wrong to treat them as lesser beings?" "I would have us survive," the Merwin replied calmly. Before the argument could continue, a guard entered the chamber. "High Arbiter, a human vessel has arrived. They are requesting permission to send an ambassador." Malshan felt surprise. He had not expected the humans to come here, to the heart of council power. It was either very brave or very foolish. "Allow them," he said. Ambassador Shinunji entered the council chamber alone. She was small compared to most of the beings present. A human woman of average height, with black hair and a simple gray uniform. She carried no weapons, no guards, no visible protection of any kind. But she walked like someone who owned the room. "High Arbiter," she said, her voice clear and strong. "Members of the council, I come with a message from the people of Earth." "Speak," Malshan said. "You attacked our home. You threatened to destroy our species. You failed." Ambassador Shin paused to let those words sink in. "We could have pursued your fleeing ships. We could have destroyed them all. We chose not to. Remember that." "What do you want?" the Velthari Emperor demanded. "3 things. First, full membership in the council, with equal voting rights. Second, reparations for 80 years of discrimination and abuse. Third, a formal apology broadcast to every world in the galaxy." The chamber erupted in angry voices. The Velthari Emperor laughed bitterly. "You come here with demands? You are one small species with one small fleet. We will crush you." Ambassador Shin smiled. It was a patient smile, the smile of someone explaining something simple to a child. "You have 3 standard days to accept our terms. After that, we will come to you." The Velthari representative nearest to her spat on the floor at her feet. Ambassador Shin did not flinch. She simply looked at him with calm eyes. "You will regret that," she said quietly. Then she turned and walked out of the chamber. The council met for hours after she left. They argued, they threatened, they planned. In the end, the decision was made. They would gather their fleets, combine their forces, and destroy humanity once and for all. 50,000 warships began moving toward a staging area. The largest military force in galactic history was preparing for battle. On Earth, Admiral Park Do-hyun received the intelligence reports and called a meeting of the military leadership. They gathered aboard the Grim Dawn, now docked at the rebuilt orbital station above Earth. 50,000 ships, Admiral Park said, looking at the holographic display. Even with our technology, those numbers are dangerous. Captain Kang Ji-woo studied the display carefully. We have 72 dark matter vessels and 200 conventional ships. If we fight them fleet to fleet, we might win, but our losses would be severe. There is another option, Sergeant Oh Tae-won said. Everyone turned to look at the old soldier. We don't fight their fleet. We go around it. Explain, Admiral Park said. They're gathering their ships in one place. That means their homeworlds are undefended. We use our fold drives to strike their planets directly. We don't have to destroy anything. We just have to show them that we can. The room was silent as everyone considered this idea. It's risky, Captain Kang said slowly. If we split our forces, each strike group will be vulnerable. But if it works, Minister Yoon Hana said from her position at the edge of the room, they will have to choose between protecting their homes and attacking ours. We force them to negotiate. Admiral Park looked around the room. We vote. All in favor of Operation 12 Stars? Every hand went up. Captain Kang Ji-woo took a deep breath. Then let's show them what desperate humans can do. The human fleet split into 12 groups, one for each council homeworld. Captain Kang Ji-woo commanded the strike against the Velthari throne world, the most important target of all. She had 6 dark matter vessels and 15 conventional cruisers under her command. They folded space and traveled across the galaxy in moments. One second they were near Earth, the next they hung in orbit above a world of golden cities and towering monuments. The Velthari homeworld, heart of an empire that had dominated the stars for 10,000 years. The planetary defense grid activated immediately. Thousands of weapons platforms locked onto the human ships. Ground-based cannons charged with enough power to crack moons. Captain Kang opened a channel. Velthari Defense Command, this is Captain Kang Ji-woo of the human fleet. We are not here to attack. We are here to demonstrate. You dare come here? A Velthari voice screamed back. You will die for this insult. Look at your sensors, Captain Kang said calmly. Really look. Then tell me who will die. The Velthari looked. Their weapons could not lock onto the human ships. Their sensors showed nothing but empty space where the black vessels hung visible against the stars. Their most powerful defenses were useless. One shot, Captain Kang said. That's all we need. One shot, and your defense grid is gone. Your cities are open. Your people are helpless. She paused. We're not going to fire that shot. Not today. But remember that we could. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The Shanri home hive watched as human ships appeared and demonstrated their power by vaporizing an uninhabited moon. The ancient Kothar, beings of pure energy who thought themselves immortal, felt their collective consciousness disrupted by dark matter pulses. For the first time in 100,000 years, the eldest experienced pain. Admiral Park Do-hyun broadcast a message to all council worlds. We could end you. Every world, every species, every life. Remember that when you decide what humanity is worth. But the campaign was not without cost. Lieutenant Cha Yuna led a boarding team onto a Velthari communication station. They needed to disable it to prevent warnings from reaching the main fleet. The station was supposed to be empty, evacuated when the human ships appeared. It was not empty. Yuna moved through the corridors with her weapon raised, checking each room. In a small storage area, she found a young Velthari, barely more than a child, hiding behind supply containers. The child looked up at her, with terrified eyes. Yuna raised her weapon. Her finger touched the trigger. She thought of her parents, killed by Velthari soldiers 10 years ago. She thought of all the anger she had carried since that day, all the hatred that had driven her to join the military, to train for this moment. The child whimpered. Yuna lowered her weapon. Find somewhere safe. The child ran. Yuna stood alone in the empty room and realized that revenge was not what she had expected. Killing this child would not bring her parents back. It would only make her into the same kind of monster that had killed them. Sergeant O. Taewon had his own battle to fight. His team was tasked with capturing a relay station on a Velthari moon. The mission was supposed to be quick and clean. It was neither. The Velthari garrison fought harder than expected. They were not soldiers, just technicians and maintenance workers, but they had weapons, and they knew how to use them. The fighting was brutal and close. By the time the station was secured, half of Taewon's squad was dead. He sat among the bodies of his friends and enemies, and wondered if any of this was worth the cost. "Sergeant," one of his remaining soldiers asked, "are you okay?" The young soldier was barely 20, too young to be fighting in a war, too young to be watching his friends die. "No," Taewon said honestly, "but the mission is complete. That's what matters." He did not believe his own words. On the grim dawn, Captain Kang received new orders from High Command. A Velthari civilian station orbited the third moon of the Throne World. Command wanted it destroyed as a demonstration of resolve. "There are 12,000 people on that station," her executive officer reported. "Civilians, families." Captain Kang stared at the order on her screen. She thought of all the training she had received, all the oaths she had sworn. She thought of what it meant to be human. "No," she said. "Captain?" "I said no. We are not murderers. We do not kill civilians to make a point." She deleted the order. "If Command wants to court-martial me for this, they can do it after the war." Her crew looked at her with something like relief. They had joined the military to protect humanity, not to become the thing they were fighting against. The turning point came 3 days into the campaign. The Myrwan Republic, the amphibian species that had argued for peace in the council chamber, broke ranks. They opened secret communications with Earth and offered to negotiate. "We do not wish to fight you," the Myrwan ambassador said. "We never did. The council does not speak for all of us." The Shanri collective followed within hours. The insectoid hive mind had calculated the odds and found them unfavorable. Better to make peace than to risk extinction. The council's unity shattered like glass. But the Velthari emperor refused to surrender. When he learned that his homeworld had been threatened, his allies were abandoning him, and his pride was in ruins, he made a desperate decision. 3,000 Velthari warships broke away from the main fleet and jumped toward Earth. They would destroy the human homeworld while the human fleet was scattered across the galaxy. Dr. Baek Sunho received the news in his laboratory on Earth. 3,000 ships were coming, and the Defense Force had only 20 vessels. "We can't stop them," the defense commander reported. "Even with dark matter technology, 20 ships against 3,000 is impossible." Dr. Baek closed his eyes. He had created the technology that had given humanity hope. Now he would have to use it one more time. "There might be a way," he said quietly, "but it will cost everything." The 20 human ships formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching Velthari fleet. They were outnumbered 150 to 1. Even with phase shields and dark matter cannons, the math was brutal. Captain Han Jisoo commanded the defense force. She was young, only 31, promoted to this position because everyone more experienced was light years away fighting the main campaign. She looked at the sensor display and tried to keep the fear from her voice. "All ships, prepare for combat. Make every shot count." The Velthari came like a wave of fire. Their weapons filled the space between the fleets with deadly light. The human ships flickered and phased, letting most attacks pass through, but some shots found their targets. The cruiser Incheon exploded in a ball of plasma. The destroyer Busan lost its engines and drifted helplessly. The dark matter cannons fired back, cutting holes through Velthari vessels, but for every ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The numbers were simply too great. 7 human ships fell, then 12, then 16. On Earth, billions watched the battle through satellite feeds. They saw their defenders dying, one by one, and they knew that if the defense failed, they would be next. Dr. Baek Sunho stood in the main control room of Earth's orbital defense station. The primary dark matter generator hummed beneath his feet, a machine he had designed 30 years ago, now modified for something it was never meant to do. "Doctor, are you sure about this?" the station commander asked. Dr. Baek looked at the battle display. Only 4 human ships remained. The Velthari were less than 10 minutes from Earth orbit. Begin the overload sequence. Doctor, the feedback from an overload at this scale, you'll be at the center of it. You won't survive. Dr. Baek smiled sadly. I know. He thought of his daughter, grown now, living on one of the colony worlds he had helped protect. Tell my family, I love them. He pressed the activation button. The dark matter generator did not explode. Instead, it sang. Energy poured through systems that were never designed to handle such power. The station shook violently. Lights flickered and died. Dr. Baek stood at the center of it all, his body bathed in violet light, his hands on the controls. He was not creating a shield. He was creating a lens, focusing all the dark matter energy in the system into a single, coherent wave. For humanity, he whispered. The wave expanded outward from Earth at the speed of light. It passed through the 4 surviving human ships without effect. But when it reached the Velthari fleet, something strange happened. Every ship simply stopped. Engines went silent. Weapons powered down. Lights flickered and died. 3,000 Velthari warships drifted dead in space. The crews were alive, but trapped. Every electronic system, every power source, every piece of advanced technology had been fused into inert matter. Their ships had become tombs of useless metal. The dark matter generator collapsed in on itself. The orbital station crumbled. Dr. Baek Sunho died instantly, his body consumed by forces beyond human understanding. His last words, captured by a surviving recorder, were a whispered apology to his daughter. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Be brave, be kind, be human. The human strike fleets received emergency signals from Earth and folded space immediately. Captain Kang Ji-woo arrived with her force to find the Velthari armada drifting helplessly. The 4 surviving defenders limping toward safe harbor, and a spreading cloud of debris where the orbital station had been. What happened here? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Baek happened, Admiral Park replied through the communications channel. His voice was heavy with grief. He saved us all. The war ended quickly after that. The Velthari Emperor, his fleet destroyed, his homeworld surrounded by human ships, had no choice but to surrender. The terms were harsh but fair. The Velthari would pay reparations. They would release all human prisoners. They would publicly admit their crimes against humanity. The other council species accepted humanity's demands without argument. The Marwen and the Shenri had already broken away. The Cathar eldest, humbled for the first time in their ancient existence, voted for peace. The council that had ruled the galaxy for 40,000 years was reformed completely. Humanity received 3 permanent seats on the new council. Equal voting rights for all species became law. The dark matter technology was placed under joint human council oversight to prevent another arms race. A memorial was built on Luna, Earth's moon, to honor Dr. Baek Sun-ho and all who had died in the war. It was a simple structure, white stone and clear glass, with the names of every fallen soldier carved into its walls. 5 years passed. Admiral Park Do-hyun retired from the military and spent his days visiting the memorial, talking to the names on the walls as if they could hear him. One afternoon, Captain Kang Ji-woo found him there. She was not a captain anymore. She commanded the first Joint Human Council peacekeeping fleet, humans and aliens serving together to protect the galaxy they all shared. It was the future Dr. Baek had died to create. "Admiral," she said softly. Park looked up and smiled. "Just Park now. I haven't been an admiral for 3 years." They stood together in silence, looking at the names. "Do you think it was worth it?" Kang asked. "I think Dr. Baek believed it was worth it," Park replied. "I think the people whose names are on this wall believed it was worth it. And I think it's our job to make sure their belief was justified." Lieutenant Cha Yuna, now a diplomatic attaché, worked on the Velthari homeworld. She had learned their language, studied their culture, and built bridges between two species that had almost destroyed each other. The Velthari child she had spared in the storage room had grown into a young student who called her teacher and was learning to speak Korean. Sergeant Oh Taewon trained the first integrated Marine Corps, humans and aliens fighting side by side. It was difficult work, overcoming centuries of prejudice and distrust, but Taewon was patient. He had lost too many friends to let their sacrifice be wasted. Ambassador Shin Eun-ji stood before the reformed Galactic Council and delivered a speech that was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. "You feared us because we were different," she said. "Because we grew too fast. Because we refused to kneel. But fear was never necessary. All we ever wanted was respect, and the chance to prove we were worthy of the stars." She paused and looked around the chamber. Velthari, Shanri, Mirwin, Kothar, and a dozen other species looked back at her. Some with respect, some with caution, some with the beginning of something that might become friendship. "We have proven ourselves," she continued. "We have paid for our place among you with blood and sacrifice." Together, the Council voted unanimously in favor of a new era of cooperation. Outside the chamber, the stars shone bright and eternal. Somewhere among them, the spirit of Dr. Baek Sun-ho smiled. Humanity had found its place in the universe, not through conquest, not through fear, but through courage, sacrifice, and the simple, stubborn refusal to be anything less than human. The war was over. The future was just beginning.